Hey, friends, and welcome back to this season of the Mary Morant Show. If you're just joining us, this is a season we are lovingly referring to as the underestimated season after the title of my third book, which just released this year, called Underestimated: The Surprisingly Simple Shift to Quit Playing Small, Name the Fear, and Move Forward Anyway. So, all this season, which we are officially now extending all throughout the rest of 2025, I am being joined by some amazing guests, some all time favorite past guests, and some brand new favorite ones as we sit down and have the deep, hard conversations you know we love around here about all the different faces of fear I cover in the book. Things like procrastination, people pleasing, imposter syndrome, self sabotage, second guessing, perfectionism, and more. And today I couldn't be more excited to be joined by one of my all time favorite people in the world, the woman who lights up every room she walks into, the ultimate girl's girl, hype girl, and cheerleader to all, Miss Quianna Marie, as we talk about the courage to show up, success, pivoting, and how to turn content into true trust and connection. Kiana, welcome to the show.
Welcome, Mary. Oh my goodness. What an intro. We're going to have so much fun chatting all about this.
Yeah. Okay. So I saw on the main page of your website, brand photographer for entrepreneurs who are ready to be seen. And that's a big statement right in and of itself, right? Because I think there's, a big running backbone through all of the book, Underestimated, is a fear of being seen. It's a fear of success. It's a fear of being criticized. It's a fear of putting it out there and people might actually listen to this or read
Mhm.
this book. So let's just even kind of like start from that place right there. Walk us through a time in your own business, in your own journey, when did not feel ready to be seen, and what you have done to be this vivacious, bold champion of others that you are now.
Yes, absolutely. So I would love to kind of go back into the archives. I know you and I both have a very similar timeline of once being wedding photographers. So that
Hmm.
right there is a beautiful thread line to start there.
Yeah.
And I just remember a moment in time where I thought, you know what? I'm doing the work. I'm showing up and I actually want to be I want to be seen. I felt like I was sharing these incredible beautiful client experiences. And I just felt like my inner child stomping my feet, telling everybody around me to just trust me. Please, if I was only given the opportunity, I could achieve what everyone, right? Like what I wanted. And it was possible. But there was also that piece inside that was thinking, well, am I only a wedding photographer? I'm also a family portrait photographer. I also have all these other facets of my business. And so pinpointing myself into one niche was scary. And I did not want to be perceived as just one type of photographer. And so, yeah, that's definitely a moment in time where I thought, okay, I want to be seen. My innermost precious thoughts are ready to be expressed with the world, but ooh, this is really scary.
Yeah, but I feel like even if we go back a little bit before that, like I'm thinking of the Kiana I first met by the pool at the Show at United Welcome cocktail party circa 2000, I don't know, 14 maybe.
Yeah.
And it's not that you weren't like the same bubbly, lovely self, but you were definitely like a much I don't know, quieter version of that, or a much more like,
Mhm.
maybe you were just getting started kind of a thing. And when I then ran into you again at the Graceful conference circa 2022, maybe 2021, I don't know. Like it felt like a very vast difference. Here you were speaking on the stage, really like holding this commanding presence. Like I felt like you had really moved from this place of I don't know, I'm not gonna put the word like people pleaser on you, but just sort of like, that idea of the contortionist not taking up too much space in the room to just like boldly saying like, I'm here and I have something to say. So like, sort of my question to you then and my question to you now is like, what happened, in between?
Yes, I love this. I love a good flashback moment. So thank you
Yeah.
for sharing those poolside moments. Honestly, I think I just had tiny, tiny pieces and tiny opportunities of being brave. I have these
Mm.
really big goals, I have these really big dreams, and it really honestly started with investing in my education. So I put myself in these rooms. And I think when you first met me, I was just so incredibly observant. I was just in the room watching everything. I was watching how the speakers were were talking to everybody, like how just things kind of played out. I was just being an admirer and I was watching and learning. And then I kind of realized over the years, showing up to these events, putting myself in the room, making these great connections, I quickly realized, oh, actually, nobody really knows what's going on.
Mm,
Right. And I started realizing, oh, wait, I actually have opinions, I have thoughts.
mm.
And I just think really through showing up, even when I'm scared and investing in my business, even when at times I thought, what am I doing? Right? Like, this is an investment. This is a little bit pricey, but really taking that risk, knowing it would pay off. That's truly how I believe my confidence skyrocketed.
Well, you being in this position of being a brand photographer, I'm sure you hear all of the objections from your potential clients, right? Who, like this idea of entrepreneurs who are ready to be seen, even if that's your like target audience, I feel like probably most people, most women in particular, are going to have some hangups about actually then putting themselves in front of the camera. So, what are some of
Mhm.
the most common ones you hear of
Yeah.
the sort of like, we talk about and underestimated this idea of this future someday that will be more perfect, more put together, more, I'll be my goal weight or whatever.
Yeah.
And that, that someday never comes kind of an idea. So what are some of the like things that get in the way of entrepreneurs you work with, really being ready to be seen?
Yes. So I think you totally hit like some of the biggest heavy hitters, right? There's always that objection, oh, I just need to lose a few more pounds, or I don't have the right outfits yet, or hold on, I need to schedule my hair appointment, right? My nails need to be done. A lot of these I would say are like, very external vanity metrics, if you would call that. But I also think there is this fear, and this is where my like intuitive content coaching kind of comes in. I love asking questions and pulling this out of my clients, is truly asking them what I love asking them the questions that pull out those twinkles in their eye, right? Because when we start talking about their business, it's almost like like the persona or their personal brand becomes something you can actually paste on a wall. Right. And so that has been such a fun experience I've done with my clients is actually putting your name, right? Like Quianna Marie, or putting Mary Morantz up on a wall and extracting yourself from that brand, even though we are so intertwined and so close to it. So those objections don't even become a thing anymore, right? Because you
Hmm.
can look at yourself on the wall and think, oh no, Kiana Marie, she's fearless. She shows up. She's confident. She deserves the world. So this is what I love to share with my clients is like putting yourself on the wall almost as the third person experience and love on that personal brand. And you'll be surprised how quickly those objections kind of fall off.
Okay, so let's kind of like get practical with that. I want to
Mhm.
really want to understand like practically what that looks like. Are you putting like your name up on? Is it your logo? Is it the last brand shoot? Like what's actually going on the wall?
Yes. So you can do this metaphorically. I love to take action. So I love to
Mhm.
actually put pictures, baby pictures of me up, teen photos of me, just a couple, right? We don't have to put a whole about me on the wall, like about me poster up there. But
Yeah.
having some of those kind of fearless photos of you as a kid, definitely adding your brand, adding a recent brand post, or even just going back and kind of bookmarking your accomplishments and the things that you have done recently to think, wow, like I am really proud of that. And then when you visualize that as a tangible thing, this is why I love to actually print out the photos, paste them onto the board. It makes it real. And then you can look at that and think, oh, yeah, she deserves a photo shoot. Like she deserves to be praised. And everyone's looking at her not to be seen, but to see themselves in what's possible.
Interesting. So if I'm hearing you right, there's almost like this when you take yourself out of the brand, you're able to kind of get out of your own way, but like what's the balance of that with like keeping a very personal brand, and the business is personal. I saw like a post here. It's like business is business and it's all personal to me. So
Yes.
like what is that like why are we able to be kinder to the wall version of us than when we think about us showing up?
Yes. Oh my gosh, this is so beautiful. Honestly, I don't know. I think what it
Yeah.
does is it it takes the vanity things away. It takes the color of your nail polish, it takes the size of your jeans, it takes your length of your hair, how many grays are peeking through. It takes that out of the conversation and out of the vision, and it makes the conversation more about the mission, the impact, and all of the things that you're doing with your brand. You can see it and it feels bigger than these things like our outfits.
Yeah. No, that makes a lot of sense to me actually because there's a great Joan Didion quote that says like I write to figure out what I think. And it's like, when you are a writer and you're writing your story in a book, it's almost like you're holding your story outside of your body. And you can kind of rotate it around like I always think of it like a prism to look at all the different sides you haven't noticed before, and it allows you to kind of get like an objective view or a 30,000 foot view that holding it all in your head doesn't allow you to do. So I think it's kind of like that similar idea. Like you are when you put it on the wall, you're able to kind of get some distance
Yes.
between like you and all your insecurities and like the you that is the brand. I love that. I love that a lot. So you actually one of the kind of like running themes I think through this episode is going to be like courage through pivots. And brand photography itself was a pivot for you. You said, little did I know this little lifestyle. You didn't say little. We don't say little. Little did I know, you said it there. This lifestyle business shoot would create such a big pivot and expansion for my business. And you shared kind of a throwback of that recently. And another kind of quote I found of you from you on Instagram was, "If there's one thing about me, I'm gonna figure it out." So just talk through that. You already mentioned this once even in your answer, but you love putting yourself in the rooms that feel scary, the rooms that feel over your head. You are not afraid to kind of deep dive into a big change like a pivot. And so I guess just kind of talk about, what that has been like for you, what photography you were doing before that, how that's changed your business, but more so how it's changed how you show up.
Yes, I love this. So, just a quick kind of like timeline check. I've done it all, right? As a photographer, as most are, we do, right? I photographed the newborns, the families, graduations. I've even photographed a couple funerals, if we're being honest, right? I think if you've been a photographer for a long
Uh,
time, you've shown up to a couple celebrations of life, right? We've done it, or we've
mm,
made the slideshow, right? That's always our
right.
task for family things. And I say that with so much love, but it's true. We've done it all. And so the one thing that I have really enjoyed throughout this whole process has been documenting it, documenting everything, sharing what I'm into, sharing the photo shoots, highlighting and showcasing my clients. I was always the biggest cheerleader for vendors. So back in the day, shooting weddings, right? I mean, anytime I rolled up to a venue, the florist and the caterer and even the venue coordinator would just give me the biggest hug and they'll say to me, thank God you're here, Key. They were so excited to see me. It wasn't, and this will make sense as we continue the conversation. It wasn't, oh gosh, here's a social media girl, right? It
Mm.
wasn't that friction or that annoyance. It was that, oh, cool, Key's here. She's going to make me look good and I don't have to worry about content. She's just going to document all the things. And that's really how it started. I really just started capturing photos, all the behind the scenes little video clips throughout all of my business, all of my life adventures. And at first, it was just fun. And then I started realizing, oh, other people are sharing this. Like there's an actual marketing strategy to this. And what's been so beautiful about the process is as I've continued to change, as my own personal life seasons have changed, I've moved out of state, I've bought my home, I'm dating my boyfriend, I found my cowboy here in Arizona, and life is changing. And my business, because I've committed to documenting the journey and really prioritize making that personal brand, my friends, my families, my followers, like they're following along with me.
Yeah, okay, I like that actually. Let's pick up there with, you've said that word a few times, that phrase a few times of a personal brand. So how do you define that? How should we think about a personal brand?
Okay, so I'm gonna take you old school status, right? And I love the series Yellowstone.
Same.
Okay,
Yes.
yes, I'm just so infatuated with the history of our country, the history of our ancestors, and the sacrifices that they've made. So before we get into the details of, let's say, a modern day brand or a modern day pivot, I want you to actually consider a brand that would be seared and burned onto cattle. Now, it's a brand. right? I want to go there real quick, because back in the old timers, I want you to think of westerns that we used to watch with our grandfathers, right? Those western movies and that lifestyle, a brand meant everything to these families. It it was a handshake. It was just so many, all the things that happened back in the day, right? Like literally taking you back to the ranch, taking you back to the farm where your brand meant something and you looked out for people, your neighbors could identify it. And it was a very prideful thing. So, that to me is how I would define a brand even today, right? So, it's your personal brand, it's what you stand for, it's your mission, it's what you're known for. And so that kind of, I wanted to kind of give you that backstory on branding, literally putting your stamp on all the work that you do. And also, I think getting into this digital age, it's sharing your brand and your personal brand as a resource for someone that may not even be in the room with you, right? Like we now have the capability to share our brand in the palms of everybody's hands, and so that could be kind of scary. We'll get into it, but what are they talking about, right? How are they perceiving us, and how are we the only option for our clients?
Okay. So, our word is our brand, our actions are our brand, our reputation is our brand, the stories other people tell about us when we're not there
Mhm.
is our brand. And we can actually be really intentional in the stories we are giving people to tell about our brand through how we visually represent and also, the words we put on our website, things like that. One of the big fears I talk about and underestimated that keeps people stuck is this feeling that someone else will always show up better. And you talk a lot about the noise on the internet and the saturation of markets and how a big part of what you do for people and the visuals you're providing for them is to get clients to a place where they feel like this is the only fill in the blank for me. This is the only photographer for me. This is the only coach for me. This is the only author. I guess you can read more than one author,
Yeah.
but this is the one for me. And so many of us, there's a fear of being seen. There's a fear of showing up because we feel like somebody else is always going to do it better. They're going to wear better, something better. They're going to create work that's better. They're going to be more outgoing. They're going to be more extroverted. We feel like they would grow this faster. They wouldn't make these mistakes that I've made. So, one of the questions I guess that I have is both for yourself, but also how you're walking your clients through this is when you are convincing somebody to get in front of your camera and their objection is not like, oh, I need to lose 10 more pounds. It's like, who's ever going to care about this? Because there's already, somebody doing this better than I am. What do you start to talk them through to convince them that they don't have to be like that other person? They don't have to show up the way that other person would, that there's actually magic in them showing up just as they are.
Yes, I love this conversation because that is something that my clients deal with a lot. And
Yeah.
this is where a little bit of the coaching comes in and kind of being that big sister business cheerleader, which I love. And I think it really just boils down to being seen and not just showing up online, but truly being seen, right? Sharing some of your vulnerable moments, sharing some of the things like your hobbies, personal interests, snippets of your family, things that are connection points. And I'll use the wedding photography example because I still have a lot of my brides that are still following me, that are still engaged. They've booked coaching calls with me. They have booked brand sessions with me. They've followed me around through all of the different, I would call it like Taylor Swift eras through my business,
Yeah.
right? Like they
Right.
have been there. They have the bracelets. They have the t-shirt. They are forever fans. And I am so grateful for that. And a part of that is because I'm sharing the journey. I am sharing where I've been, what's happening now, and also goal setting. So, one thing that I actually talk about a lot, which is a huge part of my brand, is having this huge dream of starting my own wedding venue one day. It's kind of evolved recently to sharing more of a retreat space kind of vibe, a place to host live podcasts, like a place for workshops and intimate retreats to be hosted. So that's in the future, and my brides are still asking about that, right? They're asking, "Oh, how can I support you?" Or they'll be in my DMs and asking, "Oh, you know what? My mom just met this awesome commercial real estate realtor. I'm going to connect you," right? They're actively a part of my life and my personal brand. And I think if I didn't share those things, if I only posted my beautiful, curated, kind of styled shoot vibe wedding photos and the photos that were published on online forums, I would simply be a photographer. I would just be
Mm.
another checkbox on their vendor list and not be a part of their families' lives. And I wouldn't share those connections and those friendships as I've evolved.
Yeah, I like that phrase, sharing the journey. One of the things I wrote in my notes is that, I think a lot of times in business generally, in brand photos or headshots in particular, if somebody's gonna go speak on a stage or they're gonna be on a podcast or whatever, is there can be I certainly made this mistake earlier in our business, this tendency to wanna overcorrect, to be overly professional. When Justin and I were first starting our photography business, he was, I wanna say 21 when he started that business, and so the first name of our business, as you probably well know, is Imagine Imaging, because it sounded very corporate, and the logo was the little 2 eyes facing each other because it could be like a wedding or it could be like a handshake of corporate headshots. And we really overcorrected to be like, look how professional and legit we are. And we lost all of that personal connection and that like humanness and our quirks and our vulnerabilities. You say, newsflash, you don't need more followers. You need more proof that you're the best at what you do. But then you also say, so many business owners want their branding images to look professional and feel powerful. Yes, those vibes will come through. But the real magic is simply capturing your personality, sharing your value, and documenting the passion in your eyes. So, how do we balance that? I'm the best at what I do. I want to look really, top of the
Mhm.
top professional with the real magic happens when the personal brand is personal.
Yes. Oh, I love this so much, and I'm so impressed with your homework. I do
Thank
wanna
you.
make a note of that. This is so incredible, and you are incredible. Yeah, so I think there is a beautiful dance between that, and when I say that, I almost kind of break up this maybe, like, content or marketing strategy into 2 parts or maybe, like, 2 facing things. Like, if we're going back to your eyes, right? Like, the facing
Or
each
two
yes,
eyes.
your 2 eyes and you're facing each other. I would say two strategies to look at is the actual products and services that you provide. Those to me are your Super Bowl commercials, right? That is the service that you provide. Those are your images. Those are the books that you're writing, right? Those are your offers. And to me, those need to look professional, but even more so, they do need to have transformations and results, right? So that right there, I would say is like one part of showing up and being that powerhouse, being that only choice, and kind of proving your value, right? And then the other side of that, I would say, like the other eye in this equation is letting you shine through, is truly letting you be that personal brand, the one that made it happen, right? I love showing up and sharing behind the scenes on photo shoots because things always go wrong, right? And I don't say that I'm like the most optimistic person you will ever meet, but things go wrong. Things are out of our control. And so I love sharing a little bit of those snafus that happen and showing that, hey, I am the expert. So maybe this exact problem may not happen at your shoot or at your event, but through the behind the scenes and through my personal brand that has come through for the last couple years, you're confident that given any situation, like you said, I will figure it out.
I'm gonna figure it out. Yeah,
Yeah.
nice. What's like a practical example of something you would photograph to demonstrate someone's quirkiness,
Yeah.
right? Or to come up less of like a stylistic thing and more of like a feel.
Mhm.
Like how are you thinking about representing feels of brands or feels of people? If you were photographing me, it's probably going to be a quieter shoot
Mhm.
than if it was somebody else, for
Yeah.
example. So, like, how are you thinking about visually representing
Y
vibes, I guess?
yes. So this is a perfect example because I do think there is that fear when you sign up for a personal branding session that it's only about you. It really is, right? Like there's that fear that it's only me. Oh my gosh, how can you come up with 100 images of just my face? This sounds terrifying. No, thank you, pass, right? So one way that I love to really showcase that emotion, the like the quirkiness, like you mentioned, is bringing in elements of your client experience. So that may actually be including your clients, whether those are hired models for the shoot. I love bringing
Hmm.
in friends and family to act as clients for you. Anytime you can have your own real clients in the shoot with you, oh my gosh, 10 out of 10. It just elevates the entire experience. And not to mention, because I'm all about maximizing our time, hello, you have instant raving reviews that you can just pull up your phone and take a quick video of. Like, I am all about maximizing all of those moments. But I really do think it is capturing the client experience. So whether that is with me on a professional brand session, right? We have a book studio and we are kind of curating these moments. I would love to actually bring people, and it could be animals, right? Even a puppy, bringing pieces of you and your personal brand into the shoot instantly relaxes you. It scientifically will actually reduce your heart rate. So you don't feel
Hmm.
that pitter patter, right? Like just being near your family and friends and people you trust.
Hmm.
It's going to make it so much more fun. So that's what I would say helps kind of bring the energy into the room so you don't feel that intimidation. Like, okay, I'm just going to smile and do the Chandler smile. Like,
Right.
yeah.
Right. Okay, so let's imagine like you've done the shoot and you've handed over the B-roll and you've handed over the photos to one of your clients. How are you going to coach them through? Like, coach us as if you're coaching one of them in terms of being quirky, being vulnerable, sharing the journey,
Mhm.
as they're making posts on social media. Because, like, there are people listening to this who maybe don't have a business.
Mhm.
Maybe they're not going to hire
Yeah.
a professional brand photographer, but they do want to hear about how to show up more authentically, show up more
Mhm.
courageously, show up more consistently. And one of the things that's getting them hung up is like, how much should I share? Like how can I be vulnerable without making people question my reputation or making people question my character or what have you, or always seeming like a downer, like how do you think about sharing the journey vulnerably
Mhm.
while still protecting that Yellowstone worthy brand that you're going to stamp on something?
Yes, I love this. So, one mindset shift that I love kind of walking clients through is the idea of going to an event. And it could be meeting a friend for coffee. It could be speaking on stage. It could be even just going to one of your children's like school performances, right? Like whatever that looks like for you in your life in this season right now. I love the mindset shift of going into this event and capturing quick photos. It could be a photo, could be like a 3 to 5 to even 10-second video clip, but capturing this B-roll and behind the scenes moments as if you were documenting it for a best friend that wasn't able to attend. Now, that right there, because I can give you a list, right? I can tell you, capture this before the event, capture these 5 steps during and 5 steps after. And then it kind of turns into this robotic checklist that we forget, we lose in our camera roll, right? Like, so checklists to me are wonderful. But sometimes when we are marketing our business and turning this into our personal brand, we don't always have access to those. So having this mindset shift of, oh, wow, what is the location like? What am I wearing to the event? Who am I getting to meet? Am I taking selfies with new friends, with new speakers, new mentors that I just got to meet? Whatever that looks like, right? Think of those moments that if you were to get in the car and drive away, and you have that long drive, you're going to call your bestie and tell her all about it. What moments would you love to share with her as kind of like little timestamp moments? And then I also want to put that caveat on there because I love how you mentioned putting that Yellowstone like brand of approval on it. I want you to think about Facebook circa like 2006, 2010 ish, where
Yeah.
we don't put everything on an album and put it online, right? So there are some things that maybe happen after hours, or maybe conversations, or just really truly being aware, thinking about, oh gosh, if somebody put this of me online, I would freak out. I would ask them to remove it. We're trying to be ultra sensitive, not just for others around us, but also ourselves.
So let's talk about some B-roll and like that as a strategy just for everybody listening, whether you have a business or not, you just want to start showing up. One of the things you're going to need is some sort of video footage for reels,
Mhm.
for example, or behind the scenes photos for carousels. And so you say capture B-roll everywhere you go, short video clips and behind the scenes pics that help show that I'm booked and in demand. So that's sort of that idea of like when you show yourself doing X, then it begets X. Like when I show myself doing coaching, it begets more coaching, for example. You say, I love sharing my adventures and personal life for connection, but the real conversions happen when I share the client experience and what it's really like to work with me. I build credibility in the best two ways: word of mouth, essentially, and B roll and behind the scenes content. Behind the scenes content isn't just content, it's connection. B roll plus behind the scenes equals trust. So let's just kind of talk about, let's get into some of the practicals as a photographer. Like, coach us through this. Imagine that this is somebody who has no photography background whatsoever. They just have an iPhone. They're ready to rock. They're ready to roll. They're ready to B roll, as it were.
Yeah.
You actually teach, you have a whole guide on B-roll that isn't cringe, and just sort of giving people ideas for that. You have 100 confidence boosting B-roll ideas that build a brand people can't ignore. Just tell us a few of those, from cringe to credible. What are some ideas for the B-roll ideas? And then let them know where they can get the full guide.
Yeah, absolutely. So I love to start with, what are you doing the first thing you wake up in the morning, right? And this could be very intimate. So I understand that. We could pull it out of the bedroom if that feels weird. But starting with your first thing, are you journaling? Are you making like a cup of coffee in the morning? Are you pouring yourself a big glass of water with lemon? I'm trying to do that more instead of grabbing coffee first thing in the morning. But
Me too.
yeah, but what is it that you're doing first thing in the morning? And then as a second step is, I love to share a little bit more context for marketing, right? Which is, oh, I am having this glass of water to fuel my day because I have, and you're maybe just listing 3 bullet point things that you're looking forward to that day, right? So, for example, when I had the opportunity to record with you today, Mary, like, you bet your booty that I made sure to include one of those to tag you as well, right? So
Nice.
that's an easy one. You're already doing it, right?
Mm.
Another thing that I would love to see is something that you enjoy. What is something that brings you joy, is fun, is exciting? Is it a hobby that you're doing? What is it about you? You mentioned quirkiness. What are pieces about you and your story and who you are as a person that may feel so mundane to us? Like it's just literally a part of our everyday life. But we can pull pictures and we can pull pieces about that. And I would say another thing is going on a walk, right? When you're walking, what's in your ear? Are you listening to the Mary Moran show? Are you listening to Quianna Marie Weekly? Right? Whatever that is, what's in your ear? Are you just listening to a new favorite song? Are you
Mm.
trying to listen to what your teenage daughter is listening to and just listening to the lyrics, right? Like what's cool these days? I don't know. I don't know anymore. I've definitely hit that age where I'm like, not only do I not know, but I also don't care. Like I should care, but I also like I never thought I would get here. I thought I would just be like so hip forever. But for example, what's in your ear, right? Those are
Mm.
perfect content builders that build connection, share relatability, share insight to what's in your ear. I know what we listen to is so sacred, right? And
Yeah.
it is a time commitment, and we value that as business owners, as everyday consumers. So, yeah, I think those would be 3 quick, easy things that anybody can do today. Start documenting it and start sharing it because you are going to create those connection points.
Nice. What about gear? What would you suggest for people? Is there like a tripod you really love, like some sort of one of those like gorilla grip things that you can, put anywhere to be able to grab the B-roll? Like what, or a ring light you really love, and
Mhm.
like what is some of the gear you really love?
Yeah. So I first want to preface and say that as long as you have a phone or any camera in your hand, you don't need all this fancy equipment. I all the time travel without a tripod and I just use my Stanley or my Yeti, whatever's on my desk or whatever's in the car, and I kind of use that as a kickstand. So I don't want gear to get in the way or kind of highlight that fear that we have. Don't let that get in the way. But I do have a tripod suggestion, and it's really just like an iPhone tripod on Amazon. I don't even know the name of the brand, but I will say that having a tripod in the room with you feels almost like a spirit in the room with you without sounding too woo woo and crazy, but it feels like an object that you may stub your toe on, that you may see, that it kind of reminds you like, oh, I probably should take a little snippet of B-roll.
Mm,
It does
got
make
it.
it does make it so much easier because you can move it around and you can adjust it. But really, it's just using what you have. And then I always, always, always recommend natural light. As you know, being a photographer, to me, natural light is always best. You and Justin have incredible lighting courses that I have taken. So I do know how important lighting is and how we can even make the dungiest, darkest rooms look beautifully lit. So there's power in that. So having lighting for that. But really, I would just say start with what you have.
Nice. Any, you mentioned lighting, but any other photo or posing tips? I know I saw one of your posts where you talked about you have your clients dance to shake them up for their posing. Like,
Yes.
just literally, like, shake their shoulders dance. So any
Yes.
other, like, are you flipping your phone upside down? I've heard that as a tip before. Like, any other kinda, like, very, key on a specific photo or posing tips?
Ooh, I love this. Well, definitely a posing tip. So, what I love to do is I call it gentle posing. So, when I have a client in front of me, I love to tell them what to do with their hands. I tell them where to look. I kind of adjust their hips, right? We always want to kind of put our weight to the back leg, just little things like that. But at the end of the day, I love leaving room for magic. So I love sharing almost like an end game is what I would call it. So I would say, okay, cool. We're gonna place one hand in your pocket. You're going to look, look in this direction. This is where I want you to end up. Now just get there. Just move your body and get there. And that is when the more candid poses come through. So it doesn't feel so forced and so posy. There's nothing worse than feeling stiff and awkward. And that's when a lot of clients come back and say, "You were great, Key. I loved you. I just hate myself in the photos." And it's because there's no movement. It's because there's no genuine laughter and there's no trust with the photographer. Um, so yeah, that's what I would say for posing. And yeah,
Next up, I wanted to talk about this idea you shared of sharing visuals that your future self will thank you for. We talked about this idea of sort of sharing the where you've been and the pivots and where you were in the past and sharing the journey in the present as it's like getting hard and sticky. But I really love this reminder to also, create content and capture content that your future self will thank you for. You say, I see you, boo. You're getting your steps in, you're squeezing in extra protein, you're outsourcing and scaling, you're investing and saving, you're leveling up your mindset, and your circle is getting smaller. You're investing in your education and taking calculated risks. Do your visuals, photos, and content match your vibe? Not just who you are today and celebrating who you've become, but paving the way for what's ahead. And so, what do you say to the person listening for both honoring the journey of what's got them to right here, the past and the present, but also really using these photos and this content they're capturing to say something to the world about where they're headed?
yeah, I love this so much. And I would describe this as a celebration shoot. So, one of my
Hmm.
favorite things to do is to document a client or document a friend really celebrating something they're working towards, right? So one thing I would love to do, especially I work with a lot of realtors, so instead of just photographing images of houses, right? I love bringing a bottle of champagne, bringing keys and doing their client experience photos, popping these bottles of champagne, shaking them around in front of the house, documenting that type of content and those types of photos, even just having kids jumping into a pool sharing, "Oh my gosh, we're in our forever home. We're so excited. Like pool vibes are here," right? So I love documenting those moments that we can look forward to. Because here's the beautiful thing, like the beautiful thing about photography is we have this I feel like this unwritten oath, right? I think as photographers is to document history as it was, right? Like be truth tellers and capturing things the way they unfolded. We all know with social media and with media as times have changed that things can easily be fabricated, especially here with the age of AI. Like, who even
Right.
knows, right? Is this even my voice right now? I could have sent you an email and you could have made this, right? Like, this is insane. And so it's so crazy. But yeah, so the idea of creating a session or creating an experience for your highest self, for something that you're working towards, a goal you're working towards, either personally in your business, personally for your family, whatever that is, put yourself in that environment. And what you're doing, and I'm sure you may know the science behind this or like the extra big words to describe this. I love you so much. But really, like there's probably some type of like brain clicks that happen that actually make it real. And this is the beauty of photography, is we get to create these images. We get to create history in the making, and that right there gives me chills. And it could be something as simple as something that you don't actually post on social media, right? Like, this isn't something that needs to go online, and maybe it just goes on your vision board, or maybe it's the screensaver on your phone or on your laptop. For example, let's say you are ready to write a book, right?
Mhm.
I love this so much. Let's say you are writing out your manuscript. You have journals and journals and journals. You have, maybe looked into editing. You may have invested in you, Mary, as a coach, right? Whatever this looks like for you, I want you to go into a Barnes and Noble. I want you to take a book cover. And I love this so much because I think you actually did this exercise with my friend Denise Waters.
Okay.
I think you did this because I did a brand session for her. She had done coaching with you, and I was
Yep.
in her home. I was in her sacred office, and she had a kind of like a prototype of a book, right?
Yeah.
Yep. And we took photographs with it. It gives me the chills thinking about it, right? Like, it's in the making. And this is the power of visualization, saying, hey, I'm working towards something. So, to bring that back to a visual as an author, something that you're working towards, I would go into Barnes and Noble with that book cover that you created. Like, you literally could Elmer's glue a printout picture from your home printer. I have a printer right here next to me. You can Elmer's glue a picture on another book, right? Cover it up, and I want you to take a picture of yourself in Barnes and Noble in front of the section that you plan to be, right?
Mm.
That right there is powerful. Ooh, it
Yeah.
gives me the chills.
I love it. I love it. Well, Kiana, this has been incredible. Where can they find you? Where can they find that full guide that you talked about? I think you have a course that you mentioned. Let us know all the things. Where can they follow you on Instagram?
Yes, let's be besties. It truly is my calling to help capture and amplify your calling. So you can find me on Instagram at Quianna Marie. That's Q. All my Starbucks cups have a K with a line through it. So it's Quianna Marie. You can find me everywhere. If you check out Bloom with B-roll, that is a mini course ready to go now. It's packed with everything that we literally just talked about today, and easy tactics to start documenting and pivot proofing your business today. And I have a free guide. So you can check that out at kiannamarie.com/B-roll. There's no hyphen or any extra spaces, just B-roll as the end. We can include that in the show notes. Easy. And I have all the fun facts on my Instagram. We can hang out there.
Love it. All right, friends, make sure you go follow Kiana, get some more of her sunshine in your life, maybe even book her for a brand shoot. And for now, I want to leave you with these words from her. Reminder, before you wish to trade lives with someone else, someone richer, someone with a bigger business, someone in a relationship or friendship that you crave, don't forget that the life you're living now is the life you once would have given anything to have. You did that. Your younger self would be so proud. Until next time, friends, this is the Mary Morant Show, and welcome to your underestimated season.